Coach, thanks so much for joining us. It's the Combine here, and it's going to be back here in Indianapolis. So I know you're getting ready to head up to the suite and talk to some of the prospects here. What do you look to get out of those interviews?
You know, it's just kind of a get-to-know-you session for me. Hey, nice to meet you. How you doing? And then I kind of listen. I do a lot of listening. I don't usually ask too many questions. I've got a couple zingers ready, though, just in case, and in case I feel like they're warranted or needed. But I get a chance to listen to our scouts and listen to Eric, and those guys kind of do their work and just get a feel for the guys.
So you're picking 14th in the first round this year. When you've drafted in that range, you've ended up with some really high caliber players. Right. How excited are you about the type of player that you'll be able to get there in the middle of the first round?
Yeah, excited. It's like anything else, it's capital. You know, there's going to be really great players there. There'll probably be 5 or 6 players there at 14 that we're going to really like. But you've also got the ability to trade back or trade up, in that spot too. So it's a very valuable kind of a spot in terms of capital. I'd rather be late in the first round. I'd like to be 32nd.
Right.
Hopefully that's what we'll be next year as a coach. But as the draft kind of comes around, you'd like to be up a little higher.
There's been a lot of talk about the offensive line. I know we were just chatting. You said you were diving into the offensive line in your hotel room looking at the tape. Yeah. What are your impressions of that group, and what kind of offensive lineman do you want on this line?
Hey, you know what? I want good offensive linemen. I want offensive linemen that block people, that impact the defense, that cut somebody out of the defense and don't let them anywhere near the ball carrier or the quarterback. Kind of simple, right?
Yeah, exactly. It sounds pretty good.
It sounds pretty good, So you watch all the things. How are their feet? How are their hands? How do they bend? How do they uncoil into blocks? All those kind of coaching points that you look at. But at the end of the day, I want a guy that's going to block people, and keep people away from the ball. So that's what I look for first and foremost. It's just a process. So you pick a position, kind of any position. I started with offensive tackles here. Next, maybe I'll go to linebackers, or maybe I'll go to tight ends. Kind of whatever I'm feeling. But try to do all the position guys together in one group. You kind of can stack them up against each other when you do it that way. Eric and Joe, they give me my assignments, and those are the guys I look at. Then if I hear about somebody, like you or somebody may come and say, hey, have you seen this guy? And I'll go and say, why haven't I looked at this guy yet? I need to look at this guy. This Garrett Downing guy sounds pretty good.
I don't know if you're going to take any of my advice, right? I'll keep that in mind, though. So when you're looking at kind of the next step, the evolution of this offense, when you're adding players in this draft, what do you see that as?
Well, what you just try to basically do is try to project the player into your offense, or what your vision is for the offense. I mean, our vision for the offense kind of depends on who we get, but we also know that we want to play a certain way. We want to play around some of our key players right now. It starts with Lamar. So, what kind of player can help Lamar, can enhance Lamar and how he plays, can enhance our running backs, can enhance our wide receivers, can enhance Mark Andrews, What do we want to put next to those guys and around those guys? What do we want to, look for in the offense that Greg, builds, and his kind of philosophy of offense and how he likes to do things, which is a big part of our philosophy, which we talk about all the time. We want to be physical. We want to move people off the ball. We want to come at people downhill, because when you can establish the middle of the field, it's like in baseball. If you can hit the ball up the middle, if you can defend the middle, I think of Whitaker and Trammell back in the days, and Parrish and Catcher, as a Tigers fan back then, playing the Orioles those days. Being strong up the middle is always a big deal. So if we can attack a defense up the middle, make them defend that, then the whole width and the whole depth of the field kind of comes into play. So I kind of want to start with that, make sure we can come at people a little bit, and then take advantage of the fact that people have to constrict their defense just a little bit to defend that, then go after them in other places for big plays, whether it's outside the numbers or downfield, or even a horizontal running game.
So you're in a unique situation in that you have some coaches who have just worked with the guys who are going to be on that field over the course of this week. Mike McDonald obviously is somebody who comes to mind there. Yeah. What kind of edge or value does that bring?
I think it brings a big edge. Mike knows those Michigan guys, and he knows those guys inside and out. He was with those guys every day. So Michigan has a lot of players. Now, we've always done okay at Michigan.
Right. You've always had an edge there. I'll give you that.
Jim, we got my dad, and a lot of people. But Mike's going to be, that's going to be invaluable. But not just Michigan. All the teams that they played, especially the offensive players that they played. Mike's going to have a great feel for the Big Ten in terms of all the offensive players. And Washington, of course, they played them. Georgia. He'll have a great feel for those players that he played against.
How's it going with him kind of putting his imprint on the defense so far?
It's going great. He's a collaborator. He wants everybody involved, a lot of talk, very organized, very detailed. That's what we like. We want things to be, put together in a way that makes sense for the players, that can be explained easily, but has a lot of answers for what people are trying to do to us. Things that we can get to, in kind of a simple way, like your iPhone. We can kind of tap it, move over here, and get what we want out of our defense, so our guys can execute it freely out there in the field. And Mike and the staff are working real hard to put that together now, and I try to stay updated on that and ask some tough questions every now and then. And I like the way they work. I like the way he works. I think we've got a good group.
You mentioned Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I'm surprised it's taken up to this point of the interview to ask you about Lamar. Obviously, there's so much excitement around him. You told us during your end of season press conference that after the Super Bowl, he was going to get right back to work. And a day or two after the Super Bowl, there he is throwing with his receivers. How good was it to see that?
It was good to see. I knew he was going to do it, but you see it and you're happy about it. And I happened to, of course, like everybody else, I saw the clips. And how does he look? And he looked good. And I'd heard he looked good from the guys who were out there, and even some of those coaches that were working with those guys out there. So it was good to hear. And he'll be back at it again. I'm looking forward to the next round. I think he's talking about going back to California. He's talking about bringing those guys down to Florida. He's talking about getting with a couple trainers down there in Florida while he's there and going to work. So we'll see how that goes. But I think he's very determined. I know he's got a schedule worked out, and I'm waiting for the next Twitter, just like everybody else, to see how he's doing.
If you leave here next week and you say that was a successful week in Indy, what will you have accomplished?
I think it's basically having a good feel for the guys that we interview in terms of liking them. I want to like the guys. I want to feel like these guys are guys that are resilient people. I think about my daughter coming out of high school, these guys coming out of college, going to the NFL through these pandemic years. How do you deal with these challenges and these pressures? Because how they dealt with these things the last couple of years, to me, are kind of a good clue as to how they're going to handle all the pressures of the National Football League. It's not. I think I read someone just said, it's not really as much a dream as it is a job. And that's the thing about the NFL. Think about, I'm going to get to the league. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like that. It's about these things I can get. No, it's a job. It's a football job, and it's really about football. It's a real simple process. And the guys that understand that, we're coming to work every day to do a job like Lamar's talking about. We're going to go to work in the weight room today. That's a part of my job, and I want to do well in there. We're going to compete in there, and I want to be the best I can be. Weight room, meetings, all the things that are about football are the simple things that make guys successful in football. It's like any other job in life, right? So I'm looking for guys like that, some blue-collar dudes that want to go to work, and of course, they can block people, and they can tackle people, and they can throw and catch. All that matters too.
Awesome, Coach. Well, thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the rest of the week here in Indy.
Thanks, Garrett. Always.
Awesome.